Good morning. Thank you all so much for being patient with us. Wanted to provide updates on two incidents. One, a pursuit last night that ended unfortunately in a custodial death. And second, a road rage shooting that occurred this morning on the south side. So let me start with the shooting, the pursuit from last night. Last night, one of our gang unit deputies was patrolling the eastern side of Bexar County as part of our violent crimes task force that's ongoing due to an uptick in violent activity in the area. She physically heard gunshots coming from an area off of Walsham and Montgomery. Around that same time, I believe SAPD was responding to an actual shooting with hits in that same area. The gang unit deputy, having heard the gunshots and then seeing a vehicle fleeing the area at a high rate of speed, attempted to make a traffic stop on that vehicle. She called out that she was making a stop. That vehicle then entered a retail parking lot nearby, started driving around the parking lot, but before long it became pretty apparent to the deputy that the driver of the vehicle was not going to stop. The vehicle then re-entered the roadway and began heading back out on Walsham Road toward IH-35 at a high rate of speed. The deputy did a great job maintaining composure and calling out direction of flight and vehicle description. At the intersection of 35 and Walsham, that vehicle lost control, collided with a light pole. It appears that the driver's side door sheared off, and the driver of the vehicle, a 43-year-old female, was thrown from the car and died almost instantly, unfortunately. A 19-year-old male passenger in the car fled on foot before being apprehended by deputies shortly thereafter. The suspect was taken to the hospital, where he then attempted to escape from deputies there at the hospital while he was undergoing medical treatment, attempted to escape, and was again subdued by a deputy after being tased there in the hospital. So that 19-year-old male is now facing charges of evading arrest on foot, which is a misdemeanor charge, and then an escape charge in connection with what occurred at the hospital. At the crash scene, the 43-year-old female that lost her life as a result of the pursuit, an AK-style rifle was actually found in possession of that. It had been in the vehicle at the time of the crash. There was a fully loaded magazine that was found that had been apparently during the impact became detached from the weapon, but there was one live round in the chamber of the weapon, and then a fully loaded high-capacity magazine that was ejected from it. Initially, we weren't 100% positive that vehicle that had been involved in the pursuit was directly involved in the shooting. However, since that time, we have come to find out that there is a connection between that driver, that suspect who is now deceased, and the victim in the shooting that's being handled by SAPD. So I'm not able to give too many details because SAPD is handling that shooting, but I can tell you there is some sort of a connection between the two. So we do believe at this point that the suspect that's deceased as a result of her actions in the pursuit is directly involved with the shooting currently being handled by the San Antonio Police Department. Anoche, aproximadamente las 2 de la mañana, uno de nuestros oficiales de la unidad antipandillas estaba en patrulla cuando ella escuchó balazos. En ese tiempo también el Departamento de Policía de San Antonio fueron despachados a un tiroteo donde una mujer fue baleada. Ya cuando nuestra oficial empezó a llegar a donde ella escuchó los balazos cerca de Walsham y Montgomery, ella vio un carro huyendo, parecía que iba huyendo de la escena a muy alta velocidad. Ella intentó de parar ese carro. El carro entró a un estacionamiento de carros y no se paró, sino que entró para atrás para la calle Walsham, empezó a huir de la oficial a muy alta velocidad. La oficial puso por el radio que estaba persiguiendo este sospechoso o sospechosa en este carro, y desafortunadamente ese carro se estrelló con un poste de luz en Walsham y 35. La mujer, la chofer del carro, fue aventada del carro y falleció ahí en la escena de los hechos. La mujer tenía 43 años de edad. Un hombre de 19 años de edad huyó del carro a pie. Los oficiales lo pescaron. Fue llevado al hospital donde él empezó a pelear con los oficiales, intentó de escaparse, pero los oficiales con una pistola electrónica sí lo tumbaron otra vez, lo arrestaron otra vez. Entonces él se va a enfrentar con cargos por huir a pie y también por escape en el hospital. La mujer de 43 años de edad, sí se piensa que hay conexión entre ella y la víctima del tiroteo donde el Departamento de Policía están investigando este caso, pero sí sabemos que hay conexión. Entonces, ahorita se piensa que ella estaba involucrada con el tiroteo ese donde una mujer fue baleada. Sí se encontró dentro del vehículo que chocó, se encontró que había un rifle estilo AK-47, que también el rifle fue aventado del carro, pero se piensa que es posible que ese rifle fue usado en el tiroteo que también están investigando. Ahorita tenemos 3 oficiales que están fuera del trabajo. Ahorita nosotros estamos siguiendo el proceso. Cuando tenemos una muerte bajo custodia, los oficiales están separados del trabajo, pero van a regresar en unos cuantos días a un trabajo administrativo mientras que nosotros manejamos la investigación. La oficial primaria que estaba involucrada es una veterana de 10 años en la agencia. Otro oficial de 2 años que estaba involucrado, él era el vehículo segundo. Y otro tercer oficial que ahorita no tengo los años de servicio de él, pero se los podemos dar. One thing I neglected to give you guys earlier in English, I gave to them, is that we have 3 deputies now that are on administrative leave, in keeping with the way we typically handle custodial deaths and officer-involved shootings. Although this was not an officer-involved shooting, it's being handled along the same lines. And so in keeping with that process, they're on administrative leave. At a certain point, they'll be brought back to administrative duty, pending the outcome of the case. But at present, from what I saw, it appears that all processes and policies were complied with. But unfortunately, the suspect's actions are what led to her death and what brings us here today. Are there any questions for me?
Does the arrested suspect have a criminal history and name?
The 19-year-old? He does not have a criminal history. So at this point, I don't believe he's been magistrated yet, so I can't give you his name. But I do believe that there is blood relation between he and the deceased driver. She's 43. She has a slight criminal history. I believe she was arrested some years back, but it was dismissed. The case was dismissed. But other than that, I don't believe she's got a long criminal history at all.
The driver or the person shot?
The driver. The person shot, I don't know much about that person. I know that SAPD is investigating that.
Did SAPD say that the 19-year-old is a shooting suspect, and could I get clarification on the driver and the
So I wouldn't be able to tell you which of those is considered a suspect in SAPD's case. All I can tell you is that they're suspects in the fleeing from custody, evading arrest is what we have them on. But as far as what they may be suspected of on the other end, that's going to be up to SAPD to determine.
Entonces, la muchacha de 43 años la tiraron del carro.
Ella fue aventada del carro, era la chofer. La puerta de ella se arrancó del carro cuando se estrelló con el poste, fue aventada del carro. No sabemos si tenía cinturón puesto, pero fue aventada del carro y desafortunadamente ella falleció ahí en la escena.
Ella era la que manejaba.
Ella era la chofer.
Y el de 19 años es el que resistió primero.
Sí, era el pasajero de él. Él era el pasajero de enfrente, pero ya cuando el carro paró, él se salió del carro y intentó de huir a pie, pero los oficiales lo pescaron bien pronto.
¿Está recuperándose en el hospital?
Ahorita no sé si él todavía está en el hospital o si ya lo trajeron para atrás, para acá, pero ahorita no puedo dar el nombre de él porque no he visto el juez todavía. Entonces ya después de ser magistrado con el juez, ya después podemos dar el nombre de él. Pero pensamos ahorita que ellos dos están relacionados, son parientes. Yo pienso que el pasajero y la chofer son parientes.
y están relacionados con el tiroteo.
Ellos tienen algo que ver nosotros ahorita pensamos que ellos tenían algo que ver con el tiroteo donde la mujer fue baleada, pero el departamento de policía, ellos se tienen que encargar poder averiguar qué parte ellos tuvieron en ese tiroteo.
If the 43-year-old had a criminal history, do you know why she was out of jail?
Well, the case was dismissed. I think it was from a couple of years ago, and I believe it was dismissed. And I don't recall what charge it was. I believe it was a burglary, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But that case was dismissed at that time in 2020.
Are you able to release her name at this time?
At this point, no, because I don't believe that she's been positively ID'd by the medical examiner. We believe we know who she is, but since I don't know, status on next of kin or if the ME is positively identified, I can't give that information yet. Any other questions on the pursuit?
And you're going to talk about one other case?
I'm going to talk about one other case, yes. This morning about 9 a.m., our deputies received a call for a shooting in South Bexar County near Southside High School. Now, let me start by saying the school had nothing to do with the shooting. There was no involvement with the school. The school did go under temporary lockdown. I believe there was activities going on there. So they did a great job of shutting it down, but my understanding is that there was never a threat to the school. It was just because of the police action in close proximity to the school that prompted them to put it on lockdown. But what it appears that this morning, two vehicles were southbound on Roosevelt Avenue, and for some reason there was some sort of a traffic altercation. They started chasing each other. During that pursuit, who were considering the suspect in this case, a person in a black Chevrolet SUV is all we have at this point, brandished a weapon toward the other vehicle. The black SUV that was continuing to chase the victim, who we consider to be the victim in this case, they were chasing the black SUV was chasing the victim vehicle southbound on Roosevelt. At a certain point, that victim vehicle struck a third vehicle, who, not knowing what was going on, just realized that he'd been sideswiped. Then also began engaging in the pursuit. So now we have three vehicles heading south on Roosevelt, chasing each other for various reasons. At a certain point, the three vehicles came to a stop. The third vehicle that was struck confronted the person that sideswiped him, and then I guess they started talking about what had occurred with what led to the pursuit and the crash. When the suspect, the black SUV, approached both, physically shot the victim of the shooting. So in other words, the second vehicle that had been originally involved was shot. He suffered a non-life-threatening wound. My understanding is it's soft tissue damage. That suspect then re-entered his vehicle and fled the scene. So at this point, we're in the process of trying to get a better description of that vehicle to put it out for you all. We're canvassing for video, canvassing for pictures, anything we might find. So hopefully you all will be able to help us get that information out and bring this person to justice. At this point, we're still trying to develop information on what was the original thing that set this off. But again, that victim who's got that information is currently at the hospital suffering from a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. So I have no doubt we'll sort through it, but as we do, we'll get you more information. Esta mañana, aproximadamente las 9 de la mañana, nuestros oficiales fueron despachados a un reporte de una persona herida con un balazo. Se aparenta que la víctima, un hombre en sus 30s, iba persiguiendo con otro carro. Ellos tuvieron algo pasó entre ellos en el tráfico. El sospechoso, un hombre en un carro negro SUV marca Chevrolet, empezó a perseguir la víctima. Ya cuando los dos vehículos iban al sur en Roosevelt a muy alta velocidad, la víctima se estrelló con otro carro, se topó con otro carro. Entonces ese carro también empezó a perseguir a los otros dos. Ya en algún punto en Roosevelt, cerca de Southside High School, los tres carros se pararon. El tercer chofer empezó a alegar con la persona que le pegó, o sea, la víctima. Ya el sospechoso se les acercó, sacó una pistola y baleó a la víctima ahí en la escena. La víctima esa sufrió cuando menos una herida que no es muy grave la herida, afortunadamente. El sospechoso ya en ese momento huyó de la escena de los hechos en su carro. Ahorita no tenemos mucha información tocante al sospechoso o el vehículo, pero nosotros ahorita estamos intentando sacar más información para dárselas a ustedes con las esperanzas que ustedes nos ayuden en identificar y arrestar el sospechoso. Any questions for me?
La edad de la víctima.
Está en sus 30, el hombre.
Do you have a license plate number on the black SUV?
We don't at this time. We're hoping to get that information right now. I've got a team of investigators out canvassing that area. But that area there is somewhat rural. So in other words, it's not like we've got 10 businesses all together that might have cameras. So it's taking some work for us to get out and canvass the area. But I've got faith that we'll find some sort of video or photographs to share with y'all soon.
Do you have any male, female, white, Hispanic?
It's a Hispanic male in a dark-colored Chevrolet SUV at this point is all we have.
So for the weapon, do we know which side?
I don't have much information on a weapon. I believe it was a handgun.
Age range or anything like that?
No, at this point I don't have anything.
¿Se puede considerar ir al volante un road rage?
¿Mande?
Una ir al volante se le puede considerar. Es un road rage.
Es un road rage. Es un incidente de road rage, sí.
If nobody else has any questions, I have one more on
Sure.
the last.
Sure.
Can you tell me exactly what led to the officers being placed on administrative leave? Just like specify that since it wasn't an officer involved shooting.
Oh, the fact that they were primary, secondary, and tertiary involved in an incident that resulted in a death of the suspect. It is considered a custodial death, and although at this point we don't believe that the deputies did anything wrong or bore any responsibility for it, in keeping with our policies and procedures regarding officer-involved shootings and any custodial deaths, we will place the deputies out on administrative leave for some time. When they're able to return back to work, we put them on administrative duty, desk duty in other words, while the case is ongoing.
And it looks like that incident happened kind of near a neighborhood, like an active neighborhood. Were there any stray bullets found in any other homes or anything like that?
That you probably SAPD would be the ones to be able to talk about that. I don't have much information. I don't know anything about the victim in their case, but as far as any stray bullets, I don't know.
So, en parte del protocolo, cuando sucede una muerte, es darle baja administrativa a los oficiales que estaban.
Sí,
Parte de eso.
cuando tenemos un caso cuando un oficial le tira a una persona o tenemos una muerte bajo custodia, nosotros tenemos la póliza donde separamos los oficiales del trabajo administrativamente, los ponemos fuera del trabajo por un tiempo, ya cuando ellos estén, nosotros tenemos que asegurar que están buenos de su salud mental, obviamente pasando por un incidente así, tan críticamente, nosotros ya cuando ellos estén listos para regresar al trabajo, los ponemos en trabajo administrativo por un tiempo, mientras que trabaje la investigación. Ya cuando estamos satisfechos nosotros que todo estuvo hecho bien, ya los ponemos para atrás para el trabajo.
Porque ellos, y discúlpeme la pregunta, ellos no dispararon, ¿no?
No dispararon. Nosotros ahorita pensamos que todas las pólizas fueron seguidas, que ellos hicieron todo bien. Desafortunadamente las acciones de esta sospechosa llegó a la muerte de ella. Entonces, aunque ahorita no pensamos que los oficiales hicieron algo mal, con nuestra póliza todavía hacemos esto.
Entonces, en este caso, la póliza debido a la muerte es por eso.
Sí, porque tuvimos una sospechosa que falleció a causa de sus acciones de ella, todavía tenemos que seguir la póliza.
A continuous conversation has been happening with the recent situation involving the deceased Brandon Poulos, who shot the 7 SAPD officers. Can you speak on why Poulos was not in jail at the time of the incident?
So I don't know very many specifics on his case, but my understanding is that he bonded out, and just like anybody else is due, he was able to bond out and got out on his charges. My understanding is that it was misdemeanor charges that he was there on. I don't know what the bond was, but everybody's entitled to a bond on any given case, and I believe that's what occurred here.
There were several charges and active warrants out, so if you could just speak to that at all, just about safety for the community.
Well, I certainly don't. I don't have very many specifics on the case, and being that it's an SAPD case, I can't talk too much with regard to specifics. But what I can tell you is that, anytime anybody's booked into the Bexar County Jail, do I always agree with somebody being able to get out? Well, no, but that's not for the sheriff's office to say. If they get a bond, a judge decides what that bond is, and if they're able to make that bond, then they're out when they, once their family posts the bond and they're able to get out. Whether we agree with it or not, that's the justice system that we work within.
And can you just speak to safety in general? I mean, the 43-year-old woman in this case had a criminal history. Just should the community feel safe?
Well, I mean, look, I think that at any given time, we're driving around in traffic, we're doing, going around our daily business. Just know that at any given time, you're around people that have a criminal history. You're around people that are out on bond for various charges. Ultimately, I don't know much about the suspect in this case, in the road rage shooting. But, I bet money that when we find him, if and when we find him, he's probably going to have a criminal history of some sort. Just know that there are people out there that have very little regard for human life. They're not like you or I that care about human life. So if you find yourself in a road rage type situation, it's better to just turn the other cheek and go the other way. This business of exchanging hand gestures or even raising your arms in frustration at somebody could be construed as threatening in nature, and it may be just what provokes somebody to take violent action on you. So just know that at any given time, there's people like that out there. Not to mention, there's a lot of people that are armed out there, legally and illegally, and it's just best to go the other way, avoid the confrontation, and not end up in a situation like what we have today.
And can we expect names or anything like that today? Any other details?
That's the hope. Are you talking about, which case are you talking about on?
All of them.
Okay, all of them. Well, with regard to the custodial death, we're waiting on the medical examiner to make positive identification on that person. Although we believe we know who she is, the ME's got to tell us. Once we get that, and once her next of kin is notified, absolutely we'll release her name. The young man, the 19-year-old, once he is magistrated, absolutely we'll release his name. The victim in the case of the shooting, I don't know that. Let me back up. The victim of SAPD's shooting, SAPD will have to give that name. That we're not going to be at liberty to discuss that one. On the road rage shooting, we'll give you whatever information we can. Again, I don't know that we'll be able to catch this person without you all helping us get the information out there. So you can bet as soon as we get license plate, vehicle description, photos or video, if we can find it, we will absolutely send that to your desks.
What about the drawing? I'm sorry.
Composite. I don't. If whatever it takes that we can get, I'd rather have an actual photograph of this guy doing what it is that he did. So it'd be great if somebody stopped and took a cell phone video or something. Please call us. The number to call is 210-335-6000. But sure, if it comes to the point where we have to do some sort of a composite sketch, we'll do that if we need to.
In the road rage incident, just for clarity, the driver of the second vehicle, not the SUV, was the only person who was shot or injured?
Yes, the second vehicle was the victim.
Okay, and nobody else injured in that case, as far as we know?
No, my understanding is that the collision did not result in any injuries. I'll double check that to make sure, but the collision didn't result in any injuries that I know of, and the shooting occurred after the vehicles came to a stop. I believe a weapon had been brandished before that part, which is why I believe that victim was fleeing from the suspect. But then when they came to a stop after the collision is when the suspect then took advantage of that situation and shot the victim.
And this may not be known yet, but they were at a stop. Were they at a stoplight that maybe had cameras at the intersection?
I don't know where they stopped. I just know it was somewhere in the vicinity of the school, so the school went into lockdown. But again, hopefully we'll know more as the day progresses. It's still just a couple hours since it happened, and I've got investigators out there canvassing the area now.
Entonces, el de SAPD como el de aquí es en la madrugada y el de la mañana es totalmente diferente.
Sí, son dos diferentes incidentes, pero ya que estamos aquí dando información, el tiroteo, la mujer baleada pasó aproximadamente a las 2 de la mañana. Este incidente pasó aproximadamente a las 9 de la mañana.
¿Podría hablar sobre un caso sobre los tráfico humano de Uval, de algo diferente que se ve esta semana sobre Abelardo Herrera?
De Abelardo Herrera, ¿Puedo juntarme con mi oficial por un ratito para sacar unos detalles y luego ya me regreso? Okay. He was actually asking me about information on a human smuggling case that we worked on as well. If I can just leave and get some details on that, I'll come back and I'll talk about that as well. If any of y'all want to stick around for it, feel free. I'll be right back. If not, thank you for coming in for this one. But I'll be back here shortly if y'all want to talk about the human smuggling.
Thank you.
All right, my apologies, guys. I had to get some details down on that, but I'm glad y'all brought it up because our folks did a really good job of working with our partners and getting this guy arrested. Again, the suspect in this case is 30 years old, Abelardo Herrera. He's from Laredo, Texas. He was arrested on January 22nd pursuant to a search warrant that the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the Human Exploitation Unit, as part of our organized crime group, went after, executed a warrant, and along with several federal agencies, and placed this guy under arrest. He is currently in custody in Webb County at the Webb County Jail, but of course he's going to be brought back to Bexar County. Right now he's facing 10 counts of continuous smuggling of persons, 2 counts of continuous smuggling of persons under 18 years of age, engaging in organized criminal activity, and federal migrant smuggling charges may be applied as well by our federal partners. But we've got this suspect involved in several incidents. Back last June of 2024, you all may recall, the media all made it out to a scene where we found 24 migrants had been smuggled inside of a flatbed trailer that had a false compartment put in it. Several of those victims were suffering from heat exhaustion. Some of them had physical injuries from having been beaten and abused. Well, this suspect, Abelardo Herrera, was arrested on that day. He was a part of that smuggling ring. I believe he made bond and got out and went about his way. We continued to investigate the case. Here this past week, on January 14th, you all may recall that a Von Ormy police officer made a traffic stop out near Fisher and 35. Found, I believe it was about 13 people being smuggled in a car that, trust me, is not big enough to hold 13 people comfortably. So these people were basically stacked like cordwood inside this car. There were several children among those people. I believe at least one of them was an unaccompanied minor. Again, we at that point found that Abelardo Herrera was linked to that case, which led our Human Exploitation Unit to obtain the warrants. We went to Laredo. We executed those warrants along with our federal partners. On that date, he was found to be, had several people with him. It was 16 people, again, that were ready to be smuggled. And so at this point, we've got 3 different incidents involving this person that clearly has not gotten the point that his activities are highly illegal. And so he's going to be facing charges for the 3rd time. And again, we'll be brought back to Bexar County very, very shortly. Estamos dando más información tocante el arresto de Abelardo Herrera, 30 años de edad. Es un residente de Laredo, Texas. Nosotros, el año pasado, en junio, nosotros recibimos una llamada donde 24 migrantes fueron, nosotros pescamos el sospechoso y otros sospechosos contrabando de seres humanos. Nosotros en ese tiempo encontramos 24 migrantes que fueron llevados en una traila, un compartimento dentro de esa traila muy incómodo. Ellos fueron llevados de Laredo hasta aquí. Nosotros rescatamos estas 24 víctimas bajo la custodia de Herrera y otros sospechosos. Varios de esos migrantes tenían heridas físicamente, fueron abusados. También estaban sufriendo efectos del calor. Se pueden acordar que en ese tiempo hacía mucho calor aquí en San Antonio, entonces muchos de ellos estaban sufriendo condiciones físicas de eso, de estar en el calor. En ese tiempo arrestamos a Herrera. Él se salió con fianza. Ya en enero, un oficial de Van Ormy paró un carro en tráfico en Fisher y 35. Se encontró con aproximadamente 13 personas dentro de un carro chiquillo. Las personas estaban, los iban contrabando en este carro chico. Había varios niños en el carro ese con los adultos. También nosotros encontramos que Abelardo Herrera estaba involucrado con ese caso también. Entonces ya nuestra unidad de antipandillas sacaron orden de cateo. Nosotros fuimos para Laredo acompañados con nuestros socios federales. Arrestamos a Abelardo Herrera. Ahorita él está en el condado de Webb, en la cárcel de ellos, pero lo vamos a traer para acá. En ese día fue encontrado con 16 víctimas de contrabando de seres humanos. Entonces ahorita tenemos más que 50 víctimas que este sospechoso como coyote iba pasando a estas personas en condiciones peligrosas, y él se va a enfrentar con otros adicionales cargos ya cuando llegue para acá, para atrás al condado de Béjar.
Me acuerdo que estaba en una casa muy abandonada, ¿verdad? Que no había aire, estaba todo feo.
Exactamente, era una casa fea, sin ventanas, y los tenían a fuerza ahí, aunque varios de ellos estaban teniendo problemas físicos de las condiciones, y varios de ellos también tenían heridas por ser abusados.
De hecho, había una guatemalteca que dijo que había pagado hasta $30,000 aproximadamente por...
Sí, muchas de esas personas habían pagado mucho dinero y desafortunadamente llegaron a ese punto donde estas personas, como hacen los coyotes, los pusieron en peligro, a riesgo de vida, y abusaron de ellos, y luego ya desafortunadamente llegaron aquí. Y ahorita no sé el estatus de estas personas. Las agencias federales se encargaron, pero nosotros nos encargamos de comprarles comida, darles agua, darles primeros auxilios, y ya de allí, desafortunadamente, pues no sé qué pasó con esas personas, pero de allí nosotros obviamente tenemos que arrestar a las personas responsables de ponerlos a riesgo, y Abelardo Herrera es una de esas personas.
10 counts of smuggling, 2 underage. Can you clarify if that's 12 charges? How many people were there?
Well, so all in all 3 incidents involved, we got about 52 victims of this guy's smuggling activities. 24 on the first case back in June. 13, I believe, on the Von Ormy case, and then my understanding is it was 16 on this latest one. So he's facing a litany of charges. I mean, these 10 counts is going to be, for at least one of them. But all said and done, I don't believe that we're done charging this guy with various charges. And then on top of that, whatever our federal partners decide to do with him as well.
Considering this is an immigration case, can you talk about rumored raids in Bexar County? Is this happening? Is this something that people should be expecting?
You know, we've heard that Bexar County is on some sort of a list for raids, but I have not seen anything official that may happen. I can tell you the sheriff's office has not been asked to participate in any raids. So, obviously we're going to cooperate with the law, but we also still have to bear in mind that racial profiling is still illegal, right? We can't this is not, no matter who the president is, we don't just have carte blanche to go tell first responders, go forth and go find people of color and place them under arrest. We still have to be cognizant of people's civil rights, and racial profiling is still illegal. Not to mention, as local authorities, we still have somewhat limited authorities as far as detaining somebody based solely upon immigration status, and so we've got our work cut out ahead of us. But again, at present, we have not been asked to participate in any sort of raids.
Did ICE have anything to do with this?
I believe ICE may have assisted with at least some of the cases, but it was our case, and any federal agencies came along to assist us, thankfully.
So can you verify or deny these claims about raids on Zarzamora, Marbach, Windcrest? Like, there's lots of lists.
So I'm seeing that on Facebook just like everybody else is, but I have not heard or seen anything official. And again, we have not been asked to play any part in any sort of raids like that. So I don't know if that's actually occurring or if it's just kind of urban myth on social media. What I can tell you is the Sheriff's Office, we're going to obey the law, but we've also got to respect people's rights.
¿Puede decir lo anterior en español?
Sí, yo también como el público he visto estos rumores, estas historias en las redes sociales que redadas están pasando, pero no he visto nada oficialmente. También mi agencia no hemos visto, a nosotros no nos han pedido ayuda con redadas. Nosotros tenemos, obviamente, como oficiales de la ley, tenemos que seguir la ley, pero también nosotros tenemos que saber qué son nuestras autoridades. Como autoridades locales, tenemos autoridades limitadas con lo que podemos hacer con la inmigración. Entonces, tenemos que recordarles a nuestros oficiales. También nosotros como oficiales nos podemos meter en problemas si hacemos algo mal. Entonces uno tiene que pasar este tiempo educando a nuestros oficiales en qué son nuestras autoridades y qué no son.
Could I please ask you to repeat the block number of the Roosevelt Road raid?
I just know that it was near 410 and it ended up near Southside High School at some point, but I don't know the exact block number. We'll have to get that to you shortly.
Are schools, churches, and hospitals safe in Bexar County from ICE raids or no?
Well, you'd have to ask the federal government. As far as we're concerned, we're just out enforcing the laws. Violent crime is our number one concern right now. Clearly, I'm here talking about, this morning at least, I was giving you briefings on 2 violent crimes. That's our number one concern. I am not concerned with going into churches or going into schools. People should be free to worship or get an education. If they're legal enough to get into the school system, let them go to school in peace. If they're worshiping God or whatever religion they subscribe to, I think they should be free to do that as well. So I can tell you, I have no interest in going into jails or schools and churches to pursue people. Now, if a violent crime takes us to a church or a school, that's something different, right? But as far as going in and disrupting somebody's right to worship or get an education, I don't really have an interest in doing that.
¿Puede decirlo en español?
Sí, ahorita tienen que preguntarles a las autoridades federales qué son los intentos de ellos con las escuelas y las iglesias. A nosotros ahorita no tenemos interés en eso. Nuestra prioridad son los delitos violentos. Obviamente, si un delito violento nos lleva a una escuela o una iglesia, obviamente tenemos que entrar. Pero ahorita nosotros nos estamos concentrando en otras cosas. Yo no tengo interés en ir y molestar a las personas que están dentro de las escuelas y las iglesias. Obviamente nosotros tenemos que seguir nuestra ley, pero no tenemos interés en eso.
And just to clarify, you all, BCSO has not had any sort of meeting with the federal government, with Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, or anything like that so far, and will you in the future?
We have not been asked to participate. We have not been asked to attend any meetings. The only things that we are doing is continuing to investigate folks like this suspect that I'm briefing you all on today. That's something that's been going on since last year. So, for us, we're continuing to do things the way we've always done them. We're not seeing any major changes. We haven't been asked to attend any extra meetings. We have not been asked to participate in any raids. So no.
And this June 2024 case that he was involved in, are there any other people that you suspect from the June 2024 case that are in and around the Bexar County area that you guys are still looking for?
Well, we've got several people that were arrested that day. This guy just keeps resurfacing. But as far as the other ones go, I don't have any reason to believe that there's any ongoing threat to the community or anything like that. I mean, I can tell you this guy here has links to the cartels. Typically, by my own policy, I don't name cartels or gangs. I don't want to give them any more advertisement or notoriety. But I can tell you this guy here has links to the cartels. And again, I have every reason to believe that other suspects in this case have links to cartels. While we wish that it was not the case and these people were not operating within Texas or Bexar County, it is a fact that they've been operating here for decades now. With that being said, we also can't lose sight of the fact that we got plenty of homegrown gang members that need to be taken, brought to justice as well. So, yes, there's more people out there, people that we know about, and people that we don't, unfortunately.
And that leads me to my next question. Is TDA still a problem in Bexar County?
TDA is still operating within Bexar County. Are they somebody that we run into every day, all day long? Well, no. It's we're much more likely to run into some of our domestic gang members here locally, but absolutely TDA and any other drug trafficking organization, human trafficking organization, they're always a cause for concern.
So, Abelardo Herrera tiene vínculos con el cartel. ¿Sí?
Él sí está involucrado con los carteles. Yo, por mi póliza, nunca doy los nombres de las pandillas o los carteles por no darles más ánimo a ellos, pero sí se sabe que este sospechoso está involucrado con los carteles y los otros que también estuvieron involucrados en estos casos también están involucrados con los carteles.
¿Y el Tren de Aragua todavía?
Tren de Aragua todavía, nosotros nos estamos concentrando en eso, tanto como las pandillas americanas que nosotros tenemos a diario. Nos estamos fijando en todos, nos estamos trabajando en todos.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Stay safe.